Hello and thank you for taking a moment to join me on this short demonstration of Momix Performance Center. In this demo, we'll cover the capabilities of Performance Center for business intelligence and reporting around financials, which includes general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, as well as encumbrance reporting. Performance Center is an intuitive and easy-to-use platform designed for any kind of user. Even folks with minimal to no training can easily jump right in. From this welcome page, I'd like to quickly highlight the My Reports section. This is where you can save all of the things you work on, such as dashboards and customized reports. I mention this because I will occasionally refer to the My Reports section throughout this demo. Off to the left, you'll notice our navigation pane with sections dedicated to financials, the CAFR, procurement, people and HR, projects and grants, and budgeting. But let's navigate to financials to get started. There are three different types of reports that are included in Performance Center: dashboards, analyzers, and standard reports. But what really makes Performance Center stand out from other solutions is all of the pre-built content. Most other solutions require users to build these things from scratch, and there's nothing more intimidating than staring at a blank screen. By leveraging pre-built reports like we're seeing here and modifying them as needed, you'll save a tremendous amount of time and effort. Let's start with something really high level, then work our way down to the lowest level of detail just to show you how easy and quick the process is. What we're starting with is a Department 360 dashboard, a great way for department heads and executives to get a quick snapshot of their organization in a graphical view. In the top left corner we have budget to actual, in the top right spend by category, in the bottom left grant funds available, so that if a department has some grant funds they are spending, this allows them to see the remaining amount available. And in the bottom right we have head count by job, broken out by gender. But what makes our dashboard so special? Well, it's the ability to keep drilling down into the details. Performance Center is a bit of a hybrid in terms of business intelligence solutions. Traditionally, most BI solutions only provide the user with summary level information, the type of information that supports dashboards, but they don't generally get down to the transaction level. Performance Center provides high-level information as well, but Performance Center's data warehouse stores all of the transactional details, all the way down to the lowest level that exists within your legacy system or ERP. Looking at budget to actual in the top left pane, we can see how it's trending throughout the year. But then if I'd like to click on a particular period, I can drill down to see more. This will open up an analyzer to see the details related to budget to actual at that particular point in time. This brings us to the second type of report found in Performance Center, an analyzer. Analyzers are intended to give the user that ad hoc reporting experience. The table we're seeing in the center is like a canvas, and all the things on the far left side of the screen are the different colors we can use to paint the picture we want. These available fields on the far left in what we call a decision cube are the various GL segments and measures that relate to this type of report. To include any of these fields, simply click, drag, and drop them to where you'd like to place them. By drilling into my department and the period I selected, we see that it's breaking out my budget and my actuals by account category. And I can see here that I got a little bit of an issue with this variance, a fairly large one in fact, within plant operations and maintenance. And because this account category is blue and underlined, it's a hyperlink that I can click for more information. So if I click on plant operations and maintenance, I can get into more detail that will give me more insight into that $180,000 variance. It breaks down into two object codes, and again, my object codes are hyperlinked, allowing me to drill down even further. As you can see here, I have one account with a $170,000 variance, so if I continue to drill down, I can get into the details that make up that number. So this was just one example of how we quickly go from such high-level information found in a visualized dashboard all the way down to the transaction-level details to find more information. Let's take a look at another popular analyzer to see how easy it is to take a pre-built report and modify it to reflect what you're looking for. So we're going to take a look at this actuals annual comparison by account. As an end user, without any technical background or training, I can modify this report and make it exactly the way I want. At the top, looking at filters, we can see I currently have two filters in play. But instead of looking at both expenses and revenue, I would only like to look at expenses. I can modify this filter by clicking the pencil icon, removing revenue from this list, and clicking OK. And even though I'm now looking at only expenses, This report is pulling in a lot of information from every organization across the board. I only would like to focus on one at the top here, which is 101001, and I'm going to right-click that field and select Keep Only. So now the analyzer has omitted all the other organizations, and I'm only looking at just this one. As you can see here, I'm looking at 3 years worth of information. That's because this is a comparison. But I would actually like to see some grand totals as well. So up here under my settings with the tool button icon, I can select report options and have 2 options here where I can show grand totals for rows and columns. At this point, I would only like to focus on what my top 10 accounts are by total dollar amount. To do that, I simply right-click the header for GL account, select top 10 from the pull-down menu, click OK in the options dialog box, and now I'm only looking at those top 10. But I'm going to clean this up a little bit further. There's a couple fields I don't need, so account type I can right-click and remove from the report. In addition to doing that, I can also remove things by drag and dropping them to the wastebasket that appears in the lower right-hand corner. I'm going to do the same with GL org. And now we're looking at this analyzer exactly the way I want. So this is pared down to the top 10 accounts based on the grand total for these 3 years. So now that we have the report the way we want it, we can see I've gone from 2 filters to 4. Only looking at expenses, we're not looking at summary accounts, we're only looking at one organization and just my top 10 accounts based on the grand totals. But perhaps I'd like to save this for future use. Maybe this is a type of report I run on a monthly basis. I can save this report to that My Reports section that we looked at the very top of this demo. I can put in a custom file name and be able to access it from My Reports at any time. Perhaps I'd also like to look at this information graphically. All of these analyzers, in addition to ad hoc capabilities and being able to add and remove fields and resize fields very similar to Excel, besides all of those features, we can turn this into a graphical view of the data. This pie chart icon in the top right-hand corner provides us a long list of different types of visualizations to graph this information. I'm going to choose line graph since that's the most appropriate for this type of data. But this isn't exactly how I'd like to look at it. I don't want each line to represent a year. To change that, I click on this layout icon here in the toolbar up top, where I can simply drag and drop these segments to where I want them to be. So I'm going to drag the year up to the x-axis. I'm going to drag GL account down to the series. And now we're looking at this the way I'd like. So looking at this trend graph, I can see that my expenses are relatively flat for most of my accounts. But this particular one was extraordinarily high in 2010, but came down and leveled off in 2011 and 2012. We can switch back to the table view and see that it's hospital insurance, which is very interesting. So this is just one example of how we're able to take a pre-built analyzer report, quickly modify it to look exactly how we'd like, and then be able to turn that into a graphical representation of the data. But perhaps you'd like to print this or share it with a colleague. All of these analyzers have the ability to export to PDF, Excel, and CSV. Exporting to PDF provides a very clean report with a custom cover page with the report title listed and the username. We get a page dedicated to the visual representation of the data, so we get to see the graph. We also have a page dedicated to the analyzer we built, or this table. And then lastly, a page with additional details regarding the filters I used or the fields I put into play. This allows someone to see the report, wonder, how did you get to this data, but then identify exactly how you built it. They could even take it and replicate their own analyzer in their own instance of Performance Center. We could also export to Excel, which is pretty great. We all use Excel frequently, so it's nice to be able to have the ability to export into a format that everyone's using. And just like we saw with that PDF report, we have a tab dedicated to the actual analyzer table or that analyzer report. We have another tab dedicated to the visual graph that we built as well, as a last tab for report information where we get to see the filter summary and the fields used, just like we saw in that PDF. So no manipulation of the numbers, no parsing of any of the fields, just clean, simplified exports. The third and final type of report found in Performance Center are standard reports. These support basic GL functions like balance sheet, trial balance, budget to actual reports, and so on. Throughout Performance Center, you'll see various encumbrance reports which are essentially exception reports and are important to government and education organizations, especially because this is something that ERP systems don't do very well. And on the topic of encumbrances, for the standard report, let's go ahead and take a look at GL encumbrance reconciliation. So to get this report up and running, we're going to stick with this GL period for June 2012. For the encumbrance type, we're going to stick with commitments. And for differences, yes, I would only like to see the differences for this report. So when we're setting up an exception report, and this is a report that compares two things and shows me accounts where there is a difference, I don't need to see accounts that match up. I'm just going to choose the airport fund real quick to get this up and running. I'm going to submit the report, and then I'm going to click Hide Parameters to buy us some more screen real estate. We see here the results of our report. It's showing us the GL encumbrance balances as of June 2012 for my obligations only, and only showing me accounts where there is a difference. So it's showing me the comparison between the GL encumbrance balance compared with the purchased encumbrance balance. Encumbrance reconciliation is a major issue because ERP systems don't provide these kinds of reports. Traditionally, this process is extremely laborious. Now everything you see that's blue and underlined are hyperlinks. We can click these to find more information. So let's look at office supplies, this second line item, and click difference. So the problem is that generally there are hundreds, maybe thousands of transactions that would have been encumbrance transactions that would have been charged to a particular account combo, and trying to wade through all of the transactions to find one particular item is very time consuming. This report takes all that work out of the process. You don't have to wade through hundreds of thousands of transactions to find this information. We can go back and focus on the purchase encumbrance balance, where this gives me more information related to the purchase order. It tells me the PO number and the buyer and some great information that I can use to figure out where my discrepancies are. We can go back, drill into the GL side, where it breaks the transactions down by period that fall within the year that I've run the report as of. This drill down facilitates the research process in trying to resolve these discrepancies so you can eventually get a clean report that shows no differences. So these are exception-based reconciliation reports. Thanks for taking the time to watch this short video demonstration on Performance Center. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to contact us for a personalized tour at any time. Thank you.